Meanwhile, the coronavirus pandemic has pushed the British economy into a deep recession as the country's national debt has reached its peak for the first time since March 1961. The national debt of the United Kingdom has exceeded nearly about $2.65 trillion for the very first time. Now, by the end of July 2020, the country's national debt, excluding the banks, rose to nearly about $2.6 trillion, nearly $300 billion more than the previous year. Now, this is also the first time that the United Kingdom's debt has surged past 100% of the gross domestic product since the 1960-61 financial year. It's also a massive increase of nearly about 20.4 percentage points in comparison with the previous year. Now, in the month of July, the government had to borrow another $350 billion, which is almost twice what it borrowed the previous year. Now, the debt surge also reflects a massive increase in government spending, which has ranged from COVID-19 unemployment subsidy schemes to tax cuts for several businesses to continue operations amidst the pandemic. Now, the expenses are primarily a result of Rishi Sunak's strategy to support healthcare services during the coronavirus pandemic and also simultaneously spending more to rebuild the economy. Now, Rishi Sunak, who serves as the Chancellor of the Exchequer since February 2020, is also expected to hold his very first full budget in a short while soon. Now, national debt refers to the amount of total government debt that a country has. This is also referred to as the public sector debt. Now, Japan, of course, tops the list of countries with the highest national debt at a staggering 234%. It is then followed by an economy that is not doing too well in Europe, and this is Greece, and this has a debt to GDP ratio of 181%. Sudan comes in next at 176%, and Venezuela follows with 172%. The United Kingdom, on the other hand, is at a much lower risk with a net debt to GDP ratio of about 100.5%. However, the United Kingdom too has a much higher national debt, like in the 40s, where it had surged to over 200% of the GDP. Bringing the ground report from London is Mandy Clark.
Has risen above $2 trillion after heavy spending to support the economy during the pandemic. Spending measures such as the furlough scheme means the debt figure now equals the value of everything the UK produces in a year. Economists warn the situation will worsen before improving. It's the first time the debt has been above 100% GDP since the 1960s, and July saw the fourth highest borrowing in a month since records began in 1993. The three higher figures were the three previous months.